And on the USTEC, we are quite profitable on this one too, as well, as we were able to take advantage of the breakdown of that support line at the 12,780 that we identified yesterday. So this is what we saw during the live session yesterday. We initially identified a simple flat channel where price action was assumed to have been trapped between the 12,855 level, which happened to be the resistance line for the week. Obviously, that was the highest point, and still to this moment, that is still the highest point price action has ever been for this week. Then we also had the support line at the 12,780 here, which was serving as a buying niche for participants in this market, as we were not sure if price would be going to the upside or not. And one thing I told us here yesterday is that we already saw the breakdown of that support line at the 12,780, and I told us all that this is a beautiful signal that we might be seeing a bearish momentum anytime soon. Though we were around here during the live session yesterday, I told us all that we could place our sell stop order anywhere right below the support line here at the 12,780 area to take advantage of a potential bearish momentum to the downside. And this was exactly what happened. I think a couple of hours into the New York session yesterday, we saw our price action significantly broke down the 12,780 level to trigger our first sell position for the week. And if you remember vividly, I told us all that we also have another 12,750 level here, which had some buying memory at one point in time during the early hours of the week, and we said if another breakdown of that structure happens, we want to be adding more sell position to our existing trade. And look at what we have here. In fact, we had the sell breakdown of that structure initially, and if you actually missed that move, price action even came back to give us a second chance to be part of that bearish momentum to the downside. And with a TP target at the 12,650 yesterday, remember how important the 12,650 is. I shared this on the higher time frame. I told us all what to look out for when price action gets into that structure. So we had a TP target there. So the first position was closed with about 140 pips, and the second position was closed with about 98 pips in profit. So we had roughly about 250 pips thereabout on the USTEC. So congrats to everyone who has been part of this profitable journey so far. Now that we have this kind of situation right now, what is our next line of action? What do we intend to do as we head into the New York session today? Well, in order to answer that question, what we want to be doing right now is to scale up into a much more higher time frame, like the daily time frame, so that we can have an holistic point of view of what is really going on from a long-term perspective, after which we are going to align our discovery with what we have on a much more lower time frame. So scaling up into the daily time frame here, so that I will be moving into the daily time frame right now. So here we are on the daily time frame, and what is our view on the daily time frame? What did we really see here on the daily time frame yesterday that made us to make the decision that we made? And like I told you earlier, I had to strip down all the illustrations I had on the USTEC earlier. So you will, if you are joining me for the first time this week, you will be seeing a entirely new setup on the daily time frame. And the first thing I was able to observe here since the month of December last year was the fact that price action has been bullish on this chart. And to further buttress the strength of the buyers here, we can see our price action appear to have been going through an ascending channel, where after connecting the series of higher highs here, which you can see we have the resistance line of that ascending channel, and if we connect the series of higher lows here, we have the support line of that ascending channel. And since December last year till this moment, price action has remained within that range. But one thing we have noticed here is in the last couple of weeks now is that as soon as price got into that 12,800 level, we saw some selling pressure resume around that area. If we go to as far back as September last year, we saw how the 12,800 level had been a major determinant of price action. You can see what happened here. Since the breakdown happened here in the month of September last year, we saw that price is yet to have that strength to break out of that structure. So since that time, price action has been trading just below the 12,800. And what does this simply tells us? It gives us a clue into the strength of the sellers at that particular point in time. So we can acknowledge the presence of sellers around that area, as we can see that every attempt by the buyers to break out of that structure in the last 6 to 7 months now has been resisted by the sellers. And the same thing is what is happening here since the beginning of last week. Here we started seeing sharp rejection of that structure, and like I told you at the beginning of the week, we are going to be using the 12,800 level as a yardstick for trading activity for this week. And I told you at the beginning of the week that if price action breaks out of the 12,800, that will be a successful breakout, which will be the first time price action will be doing that in the last 6 to 7 months. But if we continue to see selling pressure below the structure, we shall be looking out for selling opportunities. And I told us all that if this bearish momentum continues, we might likely see a situation where the support line of that ascending channel might be broken to the downside to incite another wave of bearish momentum to the downside. So these are the things we were looking at the beginning of the week, and what we have here, we are already enjoying some sell positions here, and price action appears to be retesting that 12,800, which further emphasize the presence of the sellers at that point. So what we are going to be doing now is to scale down to a much more lower time frame to see how we can actually take advantage of more selling opportunities if the market will be giving us this chance. So in that regard, and with the informations we have gathered here on the daily time frame, I hope we are all on the same page here to be able to decipher what is going on a much more lower time frame. Now, okay, before we go into the 1 hour time frame, I said something here on the 4 hours time frame, which I also want us to take a look at and use it to be able to be confident in whatever position we are going to be taking today, because it's very important that you are confident in whatever position, and you need quite a knowledge that will give you that leverage to be part of this trading, this potential profitable journey. Now on the 4 hours time frame, this is what we saw here on the 4 hours time frame, and since the beginning of the month we had this ascending channel figured out, and to further buttress this, we have another line within the ascending channel which I use to demarcate the first half from the second half of that descending channel. And if you look at what has been happening here in the last 1 week in this market, you can see how price action has been trading within the first half, the upper half of that ascending channel. And with the situation of things here yesterday, we finally saw the breakdown of that first half where price action is probably tending towards the downside here, and now we have a situation where I told you yesterday where the 12,650 was serving as our key trading yardstick for trading activity for this week, and right now price is currently trading below the 12,650. So we might likely see a situation here where price will drop into the support line of the ascending channel, probably in anticipation of another wave of bullish momentum. And if a breakdown of that structure happen, we want to be getting ready to sell. So this is my view here on the 4 hours time frame, and I think things are becoming a little bit clearer if you are following me attentively. Now when we scale down to the 1 hour time frame here, I talked about this yesterday. I told us yesterday that we should be having a sell stop order below the 12,650, as a breakdown of that structure will be giving us a clue into the strength of the sellers in this market. And following this engulfing bearish candle here during the early hours of today, I am of the opinion that price action might still go further to the downside at this point. So here we have a sell stop order triggered, and if you have your sell stop triggered here, well done for being on standby to catch that move. So let's see how far this bearish momentum is going to go. And remember, we have the support line of that ascending channel here, where at the meantime I want our TP target to be there, which will be somewhere around the 12,550 and the 12,440 area to secure the first the third TP target for the week. And if price action breaks down, reaches that trend line, then definitely we want to be thinking of adding more position to our existing trade. So that is that on the USTEC. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to drop your inquiries in the comment section.